Okay, it's time to rank another soundtrack, and this time I'm going to be doing The Lion King, the Sega Genesis version. As always, I'm just doing the stage themes, so no title screen, which I know is a shame because it's Circle of Life, no end theme, which is a shame because it's Can You Feel the Love Tonight, no bonus stages, etc. Just the stage themes, so there will be 10 songs to rank on this soundtrack. A couple side notes. Number one, a lot of these songs are based on songs from the soundtrack. There are only a couple of originals here and there. I'm not going to try to make this into a comparison video between the movie soundtrack and the game soundtrack. I'm ranking these particular versions of the songs as they are, but there will be mentions here and there of the movie soundtrack's versions. I'll preface this like I always do by saying that this list is just strictly my opinion. Feel free to express your opinion in the comments, what you agree with, disagree with, etc. I encourage discussion and debate. So, without any further ado, let's get on with the list. Number 10, Hoo-Ha Remix. I really like the percussion on this one, although I can really say that about the entire soundtrack, really. But it's otherwise very repetitive. The hoo-ha chants get old after a while too, particularly toward the end of the loop where there are like 8,000 of them back to back. Once it circles back from there to the intro with just the drums, you're ecstatic to be hearing just the drums again. Number 9, Circle Remix. Much like Hoo-Ha, this is a percussion-heavy song with not much going on. In fact, it's actually even more bland than Hoo-Ha. Again, the drums are cool as hell, but that's all there is for the vast majority of the song. Literally, it's the same loop over and over again with very moderate variations throughout, and there's one little riff that kicks in toward the end of the loop. Not much there. But despite how bare bones it is, I still rank it a spot above Hoo-Ha because it doesn't have those annoying fucking hoo-has that come in repeatedly. And also I do find it a bit hypnotic. So choosing these bottom two of the ranking was pretty easy, but after this it started to get really difficult and we're only 20% of the way through. Number 8, Can't Wait to Be King. Now for those who played the game, you're probably thinking that I have this ranked this low because this is one of the most annoying early levels of any game ever made, and I associate the song with it, so therefore I hate it. Well, yeah, and yes and no. First off, I don't hate it. I can't not associate the song with the level. I try, but I can't. But even still, Can't Wait to Be King is one of my lesser favorites on the movie soundtrack to begin with. It's a pretty good rendition of it, very clean, all the sections are covered, but it's a rendition of a song that I'm not all that big on, and being married to my least favorite level in the game to play, it just moves the needle down by default. Number 7, Under the Stars. This is a bit of a remixed version of the track from the movie. It takes the high energy portion of the song at the end and mixes it with the melodies from the orchestral section. It isn't as bombastic as the high energy section, and it isn't as pretty as the orchestral section, but it is a pretty nice compromise. And there definitely is a difference between those two sections, even in this version. The drums and the hits get really heavy, and the whole thing does pick up. It's got some sprinkles of flutes and steel drums to keep things fresh throughout. Again, it's not nearly as dynamic as the score from the film, but it works well in being its own unique version. Number 6, King of Pride Rock. This is another orchestral track from the movie that's rearranged. It stays on a pretty consistent groove all throughout. It doesn't get triumphant sounding like in the movie. Instead, it carries a pretty haunting tone, which is quite the contrast over the groovy beat. I love combinations like that. I wouldn't say that I'm in love with any of the riffs or anything, but that contrast that I mentioned, plus the general mood of the song, is pretty sweet. Number 5, Pride Rock. For some reason, the song doesn't appear in the sound test, and it's an original to the game, so I have no idea what it's called, so I'm just going to call it by its level name, not to be confused with the song that we just heard, King of Pride Rock. At first, it sounds like it's going to be just like the first 2 songs on this ranking. It's got that cool choppy percussion in the intro, but then it starts to slowly build up, and the drum parts change up along with the leads, so the whole thing is really evolving, and then it ends in a pretty epic finish. And I'm very selective with the word epic because people use it simply to mean great, but this really has a big epic sound in the crescendo, and the melody is a callback to King of Pride Rock, which is fitting because that's where this level takes place. Hands down the best original in the game soundtrack. Number 4, This Land. Another reimagining of one of the orchestral pieces from the movie. This one is kicked up a few notches in tempo though, for sure. It's got such an earthly, peaceful tone. It's absolutely perfect for an easy first level of the game, where everything is right in the world before shit starts to hit the fan. I love how the verse segues into the crescendo of the chorus so seamlessly. It picks up considerably, but it transitions in such a natural, organic way. Just fantastic production. Number 3, Hakuna Matata. This might be the most faithful translation of a song from movie to game in the soundtrack. There's not a lot of variety in terms of having a lot of sections, but the lead riff acting as the vocal has enough slight variations to keep things fresh enough, and the song is so damn catchy that it doesn't need a lot of material. Seriously, it's such an earworm. There's no other song on the soundtrack that stays in my head as long as this one. Number 2, Be Prepared. This is my favorite song on the film soundtrack, so it wasn't going to be hard for it to near the top of the list. What really helps the song keep the appropriate tone is the lead track representing the vocals. It's got some distortion on it, and it's in a low register, so it resembles Scar's voice about as much as it can. The song probably wouldn't have sounded so menacing if they hadn't gone with this particular sound. But don't sleep on the accompaniment either. The strings fatten the song up nicely, and the percussion is spot on, particularly during the big build-up in the refrain toward the end of the loop. Great stuff. And number 1, To Die For. By far the most intense song in the game, it's a brilliant adaptation of the orchestral piece from the movie. The only thing that's semi-missing is the choir. They do utilize the hoo-has that we previously heard in the song from the same name. This time, however, they're not overused, thank God. I'd hate for this song to be ruined. I love how the lead strings hardly ever seem to repeat a riff. It's just one new riff after another, and then about halfway in, the beat changes and there's a whole other half of the song. The beat changes up during this transition, but the intensity level remains full-fledged and doesn't stop at any point. It's just not as chaotic in this part. I might have to take back what I said about Hakuna Matata. This might be the most faithful translation from movie to game. So that's it for this list. Here is a quick recap. Number 10, Hoo-Ha Remix. Number 9, Circle Remix. Number 8, Can't Wait to Be King. Number 7, Under the Stars. Number 6, King of Pride Rock. Number 5, Pride Rock. Number 4, This Land. Number 3, Hakuna Matata. Number 2, Be Prepared. And number 1, To Die For. So that does it for this list. What are your thoughts? What is your opinion? What do you agree or disagree with? Feel free to leave all this in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.